What do the prophecies say after the death of Pope Francis? The death of a pope never goes unnoticed. For some, it is just a historical event; for others, it is the fulfillment of ancient prophecies and the announcement of new eras. Today you will discover curiosities and predictions that emerged or re-emerged with the death of Pope Francis. Get ready, many of them will change the way you see the world. And at the end, tell me in the comments, which of these prophecies gave you the most chills? 70 interesting facts about the prophecies after the death of Pope Francis. 1. The prophecy of Saint Malachi in the last pope. Saint Malachi, in the 12th century, is said to have written that the last pope would be Petrus Romanus, and that after him the final judgment would come. Many now ask themselves, who would this successor be? Has the prophetic line come to an end? 2. The interpretation of Nostradamus. Some modern interpretations claim that Nostradamus predicted the death of an elderly pope and major changes for Rome. After Francis's departure, these ancient texts have once again gone viral on social media. 3. Francis as the Pope of the End Times. Many see Francis' humble figure as a symbol of the closing of a cycle. He would be the last pope of a church as we know it, before a great spiritual transformation. 4. The remains of Rome's second ancient prophets. Some prophecies speak of the fall of Rome after the death of a pope. Not necessarily physical, but spiritual or institutional, something that many interpret as an unprecedented crisis. 5. The sign of the two popes. According to interpretations of prophecies, the existence of two popes simultaneously, Benedict XVI and Francis, would be a harbinger of confusion and profound changes within the Church. 6. Will the successor be a black pope? An ancient legend claims that the black pope would come to power shortly before the end of time. This expression is controversial, but it has been discussed again after the death of Francis, associated with the leader of the Society of Jesus. 7. The vision of John XCI. Pope John XCI is said to have recorded secret visions of a pope under attack from within and without. Many today link these predictions to the conflicts Francis faced during his papacy. 8. Climate change and celestial signs. Interestingly, after the death of great religious leaders, ancient texts claim that there would be noticeable changes in the climate, from unexpected storms to eclipses interpreted as divine signs. 9. The prophecy of Pastor Angelicus. Saint Malachi describes popes with symbolic titles. The Pastor Angelicus would be a guide of souls before times of suffering. Francis, with his pastoral image, is seen by some as the fulfillment of this prediction. 10. The expectation of a new religion. With Francis' death, some theories suggest that not only will a new pope emerge, but also a drastic transformation in the Western religious structure. 11. The third secret of Fatima takes on new meaning. The third secret of Fatima speaks of persecutions against a bishop dressed in white. After Francis' death, many believers revisited this prophecy, trying to connect recent events to these mystical visions. 12. Change in the chair of Peter? Theorists argue that the death of a pope outside the traditional mold, like Francis, with his simple life, could symbolize a definitive break in the traditional succession of the Catholic Church. 13. The rise of a young pope. Some recent interpretations suggest that the next pope will be young and will bring with him unexpected changes, a break from the traditional profile of older and more conservative popes. 14. The end of religious monarchy. There are those who interpret that Francis' death represents the beginning of the end of the Church's monarchical model. A new, more decentralized and horizontal system may be emerging. 15. Stars falling from the sky. Ancient scriptures mention stars falling after the death of spiritual leaders. Although symbolic, many see the multiplication of global crises as a fulfillment of these signs. 16. Will the new pope not be European? After Francis, there is speculation that the Church may choose popes from regions outside Europe, such as Africa or Asia, marking the real beginning of a new multicultural era in the Vatican. 17. Apocalyptic signs in nature. According to ancient prophecies, great natural catastrophes would occur during periods of profound spiritual transition. Recent climate anomalies have rekindled these fears. 18. The Church divided into two branches. Theorists claim that after the death of a reformist pope, the Church could formally split between conservatives and progressives, changing Catholicism forever. 19. Nostradamus and the New Shepherd. Some of Nostradamus's verses speak of a new shepherd emerging after a great loss. This shepherd would be different from the previous ones, bringing innovative doctrines. 20. The Great Schism revisited. Just as there was a separation between East and West, some scholars fear that, post-Francis, there will be a new Great Schism within the Catholic Church, even deeper. 21. Prophecies and the global crisis of faith. With the death of religious leaders like Francis, many prophecies warn of a global crisis of faith, a time when spiritual values would be profoundly challenged. 22. The return of the false prophet. Ancient apocalyptic texts suggest that a spiritual leader would arise who would deceive many. Some theorists apply these ideas to the post-mortem context of a pope, sparking intense debate. 23. Political changes in the Vatican. There are prophecies that point to a profound transformation not only religious but also political within the Holy See. Changes in power relations may be on the way. 24. The fear of losing traditions. For some groups, Francis' death represents the risk that centuries-old traditions will be lost. The search for an updated church is seen with fear and hope at the same time. 25. The selection of a provisional pope. There are theories that speak of the election of a pope who would rule only for a short period, paving the way for a greater spiritual revolution. 26. Francis and the 13 prophecies of Paravicini. Paravicini's incredible predictions mention popes in turbulent times. Many scholars are revisiting his prophetic drawings looking for connections with today. 27. A pope coming from Latin America again? Some predictions indicate that another Latin leader would emerge in the Vatican, consolidating a new phase more focused on the poor and marginalized. 28. The radical renewal of the Church. Mystics predict that after the death of a different pope, a radical renewal will emerge, total simplicity, focus on actions and less formalistic structure. 29. A crisis of global leadership. The Pope represents not just Catholics, but a global moral leader. His death raises questions about who will take on this responsibility on a global level. The reappearance of the lost relics. Some say that with the change of eras, hidden or lost sacred objects could be rediscovered, bringing ancient messages to light. 31. Paravicini's vision of the empty church. Paravicini depicted an abandoned church in his visions. After Francis' death, many fear that the spiritual emptiness will accelerate. 32. New conclave, new rules? There is speculation that the next conclave could be reformed, perhaps allowing new forms of papal selection or modifying old secret traditions. 33. The sword and the cross. Ancient prophecies speak of a time when religion and violence would once again be intertwined. The post-Francis instability may be seen by some as the beginning of that era. 34. The return of the Marian apparitions. After the death of spiritual leaders, there are those who believe that new apparitions of Our Lady would emerge, bringing urgent messages to humanity. 35. The myth of the City of Seven Hills. Rome, described as the City of Seven Hills, appears in several apocalyptic prophecies. Its symbolic relationship with the death of a pope reinforces ancient legends of judgment. 36. the Pope and the 7 trumpets of the Apocalypse. Some interpretations associate global events, such as the death of a pope, with the symbolic sounding of the trumpets described in the Apocalypse, announcing times of great tribulation. 37. The death of a pope and economic instability. Ancient texts suggest that after the loss of a spiritual leader, the world would enter a deep economic crisis, with unexpected financial collapses. 38. The election of the pope under threat. Prophecies warn that in the end times, the choice of a new pope would be surrounded by threats, tensions, and intense internal divisions. 39. The mystery of the statue of St. Peter. Legend has it that at the end of time, the statue of St. Peter in the Vatican would be damaged or moved. Many now look at these symbols with new eyes. 40. The vision of black smoke. In some prophetic dream interpretations, black smoke symbolizes confusion and loss of direction. The Church, after Francis' death, could face a period of uncertainty. 41. The lights go out in Rome. Ancient mystical accounts tell of Rome plunging into darkness after the fall of its spiritual leaders, a sign many associate with times of turmoil and renewal. 42. The silence of the sacred voices. There are theories that say that after the death of a great pope, the world would experience a period of spiritual silence where it would be difficult to hear the divine voice. 43. The omen of the birds. Ancient prophetic signs tell of strange bird behavior before major religious events. Many have associated recently seen bird movements as a harbinger of change. 44. The prophecy of the last council. It is expected that the next pope may call an extraordinary council, the last in history, to completely reformulate the paths of the Church. 45. The Pope's escape. Some ancient texts suggest that a pope would need to flee Rome in a hurry. This image has gained strength again after debates about Vatican security. 46. The cracked earth in St. Peter's Square. A little-known legend claims that in the end times, cracks would appear in St. Peter's Square, a symbol that the spiritual foundations would be shaken. 47. The new leader will come from where you least expect it. Many prophecies point to the next great spiritual leader emerging from an unlikely location, far from traditional centers of power. 48. The New Jerusalem. Revelation speaks of a new Jerusalem after times of tribulation. Some believe that with the death of Francis, we are entering this period of transition. 49. The wounded shepherd and his sheep. A metaphor used in ancient prophecies, when the shepherd, the pope, is wounded, the sheep, the faithful, are scattered. The death of a spiritual leader can generate confusion and a search for new paths. 50. The coming of new prophets. With the death of a symbolic pope, many believe that new prophetic voices will emerge, pointing to renewal or divine warnings. 51. The transformation of churches. Some visionaries believe that physical churches will lose their traditional function, giving way to new, more decentralized forms of spirituality. 52. The revelation of hidden secrets. It is expected that after the death of a particular pope, secret Vatican documents will come to light, changing the public's view of church history. 53. The trial of the shepherds. Ancient apocalyptic texts suggest that after the death of religious leaders, there would be not only a spiritual but also a public judgment of the Church's past actions. 54. The new pope and new technologies. Theorists say the next leader of the Church will be more adapted to the digital world and will use technology as a tool for global evangelization. 55. The seal of the new covenant. Ancient prophecies speak of a new spiritual seal being offered to the world after a period of deep crisis within the Church. 56. The two spiritual towers. Some mystics have predicted the existence of two great rival spiritual leaders. The emergence of parallel religious movements could occur in the vacuum left by Francis' death. 57. The War of Beliefs. There are predictions that indicate a period of violent clashes between rival religions, triggered after the death of a great world spiritual leader. 58. The Golden Key and the Silver Key. Symbols of the Vatican, these spiritual keys are said to be prepared for the new leadership, but with different interpretations of their use. 59. The Days of Spiritual Darkness. Some apocalyptic texts speak of a period of dark days, not physical but spiritual, where faith would be tested to the utmost. 60. A voice that cries out in desertion. The emergence of solitary spiritual leaders is expected, far from the great temples, bringing messages of spiritual renewal in difficult times. 61. The Call of the Nations. Prophecies say that people from distant places will bring new vitality to the Catholic faith, re-emerging with fresh and innovative ideas. 62. The Restoration of Simplicity. The next spiritual movement after Francis may be a radical return to simplicity, material detachment and total focus on the essence of faith. 63. The Time of Modern Martyrs. Ancient accounts suggest that after the death of religious leaders, there would be new martyrs, not just physical martyrs, but also moral and social martyrs. 64. Distrust in institutions. The vacuum left by great leaders could generate a global crisis of confidence in traditional institutions, including religious ones. 65. The Great Call to Young People. It is expected that young people will play a decisive role in spiritual reconstruction, bringing innovation, questioning and courage to change outdated structures. 66. The Return to the Faith of the Origins. Many believe that after times of crisis, Christianity will return to its purest roots, love for others, simplicity, and compassion above rigid doctrine. 67. The Resurgence of Local Communities. Without strong central leadership, faith can spread through small local communities, following the model of the early Christians. 68. The Search for the New Messiah. Some schools of thought interpret that, after the fall of great religious leaders, an intense search for modern messianic figures will emerge. 69. The New Age Church. There will be a reformulated church, open to all cultures and knowledge, much more inclusive and connected with real social problems. 70. The Collective Awakening. At the end of every crisis, it is said that a collective spiritual awakening will emerge, a new awareness of fraternity, hope and deep reconnection with the divine. C. The death of a spiritual leader like Pope Francis can carry much more meaning than just a succession. It opens space for changes, challenges and perhaps even the beginning of a new spiritual era. If you love solving these mysteries, leave your like, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. Because here at Intruder Fact, the strange is just the beginning. And tell me in the comments, which of these prophecies touched you the most? See you in the next mystery.